Hi, this is Alan from Alpus Group, and I'm going to talk to you today about a property in Uxbridge Road, which we've been appraising. Here's the site address: 430 Uxbridge Road, London, W12 ONR. You can see the promenade on the corner of Uxbridge Road, which, if I remember rightly, is a main A road thoroughfare, so it has got a side road here for access, and basically we'll work through this, the details of this property. So it's not in a conservation area. This is the applicant who got the planning permission. It's for the erection of a 4-storey building to provide a Class E unit at ground floor level and 9 flats at ground, first, second and third floor level, with associated private and communal amenity space and erection of cycle and refuse stores. And I note from the later parts there's no requirement for on-site parking because this site is near to Tube Station. It's a full detailed planning application, and the officer recommendation is that Chief Planning Officer be authorised to grant planning permission upon completion of a satisfactory legal agreement subject to the conditions listed. That the committee resolved that the Chief Planning Officer, after consultation with the Assistant Director Legal Services and the Chair of the Planning and Development Control Committee, be authorised to make any minor changes to the proposed heads of terms of the legal agreement or proposed conditions, which may include the variation, addition or deletion of any conditions. Any such changes shall be within their discretion. So what this is saying is that they're delegating to the Chief Planning Officer to conclude an agreement, but there may be some last-minute changes to the conditions on which this planning permission is granted. So the development shall be permitted to be started within 3 years from the beginning of the date with this planning permission. So it doesn't look like that has actually started yet, and the drawings are listed there that you've got to conform to. No works above ground level should commence until details and samples of all materials to be used on the external face of the building, including walls, roof coverings, windows and doors, have been submitted to and approved in writing by the council. This is a fairly usual condition. No part of the development shall be used or occupied prior to the completion of the development in accordance with the approved details. And this is to ensure satisfactory external appearance in accordance with policies DC1 and DC2 of the local plan dated 2018. No works above ground level shall commence until a sample panel of the proposed facing brickwork and hit and miss brickwork have been erected on site, inspected by officers and approved in writing by the council. No part of the development shall be used or occupied prior to the completion of the development. Okay, so they want to ensure satisfactory external appearance. No works above ground level should be commenced until detailed drawings at a scale of not less than 1 to 20 of each window, bay type and all entrances have been submitted to and approved in writing by the council. So the detailed drawings have got to be completed and submitted to the council for their approval, particularly in respect of the external appearance. The noise level in the rooms that the development shall be approved shall meet noise standards specified in BS 8233/2014 for internal rooms and external amenities. And this is in accordance with policy CC 11 of the local plan. There's a requirement there to submit details of plant and machinery which is going to be installed on the development. So these are all quite specific requirements. They're not unusual, but there's no flexibility in this, and you have to make submissions following details of sound insulation for floor, wall, ceiling structures separating different types of use need to be submitted. So everything needs to be designed and submitted to the council for their approval in advance. And here's an important one. The development shall be carried out and completed in full accordance with the details contained within the flood risk assessment submitted with this application. So that was done by Edge Structures, dated February 2019. And there's a SUDS calculation which was received at that time. No part of the development shall be used or occupied until all flood prevention and mitigation measures have been installed in accordance with the submitted details, and the development shall be permanently retained in this form thereafter. To reduce the impact of flooding to the proposed development and future occupants in accordance with policies CC2 and CC3 of the local plan 2018. And then you're required to submit a construction logistics plan to the council for their approval. Seek to minimise the impact of construction traffic on nearby roads and restrict construction tips to off-peak hours only. To ensure construction works do not adversely impact on the operation of the public highway in accordance with policies T1 and T7 of the local plan 2018. Construction management plan should be submitted to and approved in writing by the council to ensure the amenity of occupiers of surrounding premises is not adversely affected by noise, vibration, lighting or other emissions from the site. Development should be carried out and completed in accordance with the following details of hard and soft landscaping. Development shall not be occupied or used until such landscaping as is approved has been carried out. To ensure a satisfactory external appearance and promote biodiversity in accordance with policies OS 4, DC2, DC8 of the local plan and the interests of air quality in accordance with policy CC10 of the local plan. Development shall be carried out and completed in accordance with the secured by design statement by Potter Church and Homes Architects approved under our application, unless subsequent alternative detailed to and approved in writing by the council. The development shall be carried out and completed in full accordance with the approved details and permanently retained as such. To ensure a safe and secure environment for users of the development in accordance with policies DC1 and DC2 of the local plan 2018. No part of the development hereby approved shall be occupied until provision has been made for the storage of domestic refuse and recycling in the form of dedicated storage area at ground floor level. To ensure satisfactory provision for storage of refuse and recycling on site in accordance with policy CC7 of the local plan. Hereby approved shall be carried out and completed in accordance with details of the proposed storage of 21 cycles and 4 long stay in connection with the commercial units, 17 long stay in connection with residential units. Development shall be carried out and completed in accordance with the works and measures identified in the following reports. Phase 1 land contamination assessment dated November 2012 and the geoenvironmental site investigation dated 23rd of November 2012. All work should be carried out in compliance with and by a competent person who conforms to CLR 11 model procedures for the management of land contamination or current UK requirements for sampling and testing potentially contaminative land uses, past or present, are understood to occur at or near to this site. This condition is required to ensure no unacceptable risks are caused to humans, controlled waters, or the wider environment during and following the development works in accordance with policy CC9 of the local plan. Residential units of this address shall only be used as residential units falling within Class 3 of the Town and Country Planning Use Classes Order, so that's Use Class C3. The residential units shall not be used as housing in multiple occupation, falling within Class C4. The use of property as a house in multiple occupation rather than single residential units would raise materially different planning considerations that the Council would wish to consider under full planning application in accordance with policies DC1, HO1, HO2, HO4, HO5, HO8 and HO11 of the local plan. Other than the areas explicitly identified on the approved drawings as a roof terrace, the roof of the extension hereby shall not be used as a roof terrace or other form of open amenity space. No alteration should be carried out, nor planters or other chattels placed on the roof. No railings or other means of enclosure should be erected on the roof. No alteration should be carried out to any elevations of the application property to form access onto the roof. The use of the roof as a terrace would increase the likelihood of harm to the existing residential amenities of the occupiers of neighbouring properties as a result of noise and disturbance and loss of privacy, contrary to policies HO11 and CC11 of the local plan 2018. The development hereby approved should be carried out and completed in accordance with details of the green roofs to the bin and cycle storage as follows. And then prior to the commencement of the above works and development, a ventilation strategy report to mitigate the impact of existing poor air quality for residential use should be submitted to and approved in writing by the local authority. And there's specific information about ventilation intakes, restricted opening windows, details and locations of all ventilation extracts, etc. The whole system should be designed to prevent summer overheating and minimize energy usage. All in accordance with the local plan. Prior to occupation of the development, details of post-installation compliance report of the approved ventilation strategy as required by condition 22 to mitigate the impact of the existing poor air quality shall be submitted to and approved in writing by the local authority. The report shall be produced by an accredited Chartered Building Services engineer. Prior to the occupation of the development, details of the installation commissioning certificate of the zero emission MCS certified air, water, source heat pumps or electric boilers to be provided for space heating and hot water each of the 9 self-contained residential units and the ground floor commercial unit shall be submitted to and approved in writing. And prior to the occupation of the development, hereby permitted an ultra-low emission strategy for the operational phase of the development in order to mitigate the impact of air pollution shall be submitted to and approved in writing by the local authority. Air quality dust management plan. This is in connection with the construction phase. Specific requirements there. No alteration should be carried out to the external appearance of the development, including installation of external pipework, air conditioning units, ventilation fans or extraction equipment to ensure a satisfactory external appearance and to prevent harm to the amenities of the occupiers of the neighbouring residential properties. The development hereby approved shall not be occupied until a delivery and servicing plan for the commercial unit at ground and basement levels has been submitted to and approved in writing by the council. Soakaway system. Details need to be submitted. In the event of a soakaway not being feasible on site, alternative sustainable drainage systems, SUDs, shall be proposed and details provided for approval. Development hereby approved should not be used or occupied until obscure glazing to be installed up to a level of at least 1.7 metres has been installed to the east-facing window to bedroom 1 in flat 4. The window in question shall also be fixed shut below a height of 1.7 metres above finished floor level. Thereafter, the development shall be permanently retained in this form. Development hereby permitted shall be carried out in full accordance with the details of the arboricultural report submitted with this application. Right, justification for approving the application. Land use. The proposal would achieve a sustainable development by providing much needed housing on previously developed land. Proposal would provide 9 additional units of housing in accordance with policies HO1, HO4, HO11. Quality of the accommodation, including design and layout of the new residential units, is considered to be high quality, having regard to the Mayor's design guidelines and London Plan 2021, Policy D6 and Table 3.1, together with policies H3, HO6 and H11 of the local plan. Design. The development is considered to comply with the local plan policies DC1 and DC2, which require a high standard of design in all new build developments. So on. Residential amenity. Impact of the proposed development upon adjoining occupiers is considered to be acceptable. The proposal would not have an unacceptably harmful impact on neighbouring residential amenity in terms of light, outlook, or privacy and noise and disturbance. The commercial use would not result in unacceptable noise and disturbance to nearby residents, subject to conditions. In this regard, the development would respect the principles of good neighbourliness and would therefore be acceptable in accordance with policies HO11 and DC4 of the local plan. Accessibility and safety. Subject to appropriate conditions, the development would provide a safe and secure environment for all users and would provide ease of access for all people, including disabled people, in accordance with policies DC1, 2, HO6 and HO11 of the local plan. Highways matters. It's considered that the scheme would not have a significant further impact on the highway network or local planning conditions and therefore is considered to be acceptable. Satisfactory provision should be made for cycling, parking, and future occupiers of the net units would be prevented from obtaining on-street parking permits to help overspill of parking into local highways. There are available public transport and other services nearby, and adequate provision for storage and collection of refuse and recyclables would be provided. The development therefore accords with the local plan policies, all those listed. The impact of the development with regards to land contamination, flood risk and air quality are considered to be acceptable. So list of background papers, they're all listed there. Comments have been sought and obtained from Thames Water, the Crime Prevention Design, and neighbours' comments are included there. The application site is located on the north side of Uxbridge Road. Site is vacant and enclosed by a temporary timber hoarding. The buildings that were formerly on the site were demolished in 2012-13, implementing a previous planning permission that is still extant. more recently, planning permission for redevelopment of the site was granted in 2020. The current scheme is similar to the 2020 permission but sees the basement element of the proposal deleted. As a result of the reduced floor space, the current application is no longer a major application. The site is not located within a conservation area. However, the buildings that were formerly on the site and have since been demolished were included in the Council's local register of buildings of merit. The site has a public transport accessibility level of 4, which is considered to be good. Nearest underground station is Shepherd's Bush Market, which is about 10 minutes walk from the site. Site falls within the Environmental Agency's Flood Zone 1 is low risk of flooding from the River Thames. However, flooding from surface water and sewer flooding are known issues in the area. Relevant planning history for the site, and then they go through erection of a 4-storey building with basement, renewal of the planning permission granted in 2009. Erection of a Part 3, Part 4-storey building was approved. Erection of a single-storey extension to the front of number 430 was approved. So, talking about the current application is for the erection of a 4-storey building to provide a Class C commercial unit at ground floor level, 9 flats at ground, first, second and third floor level. Proposal is extremely similar to the previous planning application but sees the basement element deleted. Other minor changes to the 2020 scheme are as follows: increase in floor to ceiling heights on first, second and third floors to 2.5 meters, slight incline on roof of building to comply with the building regs, and increase in height of the building by 635 millimeters at roof level due to the above. The application was advertised by way of a site notice and an advert in the local press. Notification letters were sent to 261 neighbouring properties. 5 public comments were received, and these are the concerns that people had. Case officer's response. It's similar to a previously approved scheme. Consultees all gave no objection. Planning considerations. The site is currently vacant following demolition of the previous buildings, which were a ground floor retail unit and 3 with residential to the rear and above. As with 2 extant planning missions, the proposal would provide a replacement ground floor retail unit, which would now be 138 square metres. Officers consider this would maintain the vitality of the neighbourhood parade in which the application site sits. There's a reference here to London Borough of Hammersmith Fulham has a target to deliver 1,609 net additional dwellings per annum. The proposal would result in a net increase of 6 residential units, that's 9 in total. Proposed density of the development is approximately 211 units per acre. London Plan 2021 Policy D3 moves away from numerical density ranges and instead states that all development must make the best use of the land, followed by a design-led approach. So I think everyone seems to be agreeing this is a desirable development. Obviously a lot of constraints here. We've concluded on our review of this one that this is the schedule of accommodation on which we based our calculations for the evaluation of the site. So if I just go and show you that, because the point is it's no good pursuing this unless we can secure the site at the right level. So we did some calculations based on purchasing the sites at a price of £2 million, which would incur £211,000 of stamp duty, £5,000 legals. These are the likely costs of the design and new construction, so roughly 1.9 million of new construction costs, giving a total of 4.069 million. We've allowed 10% for contingency because we haven't actually looked in great detail at the designs, or albeit that there appear to have been some planning designs progressed, not necessarily all of the studies that the local authority require. And we also noted that the SIL contribution required by the Mayor's Office and also London Borough of Hammersmith and Fulham totals in excess of £200,000. It's £206,000 plus indexation. So I'm not sure how much the indexation is, but you can probably rest assured you're going to be parting with £250,000 or so for SIL by the time that you've finished the development. The cost of finance, it's going to be tricky to finance this at any less than 10%, so that's another £400,000 of finance charges likely to be incurred. So your costs, even purchasing at 2 million, are likely to be 4.88 million, and the value, according to local average asking price, is 5.69 million for the residential, plus an allowance for the commercial unit. So even if you rounded it to £6 million as the value for the development, you're not going to be making that much money from this development, and you've got a significant outlay before you can get any income. So you've got to basically carry out all of the design submissions that we described to the local authority, get their approval, and you've also got to construct the whole building, 4-storey building. So you're likely looking at, from now, something like 2 years to complete this development. And on the face of it, it doesn't give sufficiently high return. We did another calculation based on an offer of 2.25 million, because we understand that the agents have got an offer of 2.25 million, and we do not think this one is worth pursuing at that level. Apparently there's also another offer of 2.8 million, which would be pointless to carry out this development if you're paying 2.8 million for this site, because you'd effectively be breaking even at best and probably losing money. So I'm just giving this as an example, one of many development sites that we appraise, which does not give the required returns for investors, and so we won't be progressing this one. But it's an interesting one because it's unusual in that this has quite a long planning history, and there's obviously been a dialogue with the local authority over something like 10 years about this site, and it's still not finally concluded. You remember that there was the ability for the council to actually dictate some changes to heads of terms. So I don't know what may be on their minds, but it's another risk which, when you consider the possibilities to go out and do things using permitted development, this is not such an attractive proposition, certainly at the price that has been suggested, 2.25 million. It's a non-starter for us, and 2.8 million, well, I hope the vendor gets what they want from the site, because they've been involved in this for approximately 10 years. However, it's not for us at a price of 2.25 or above. It would only start to become of interest if the vendor were looking at a realistic price of £2 million for this site. That's all for now.